Merry meet everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Um, I wanted to start a new series on my channel. Um, I think I started it a while back with doing book reviews, but this time I'm officially going to start it. I apologize for there goes, the glare on my glasses. I just fixed that, but um, what this series is going to be entitled, it's going to be entitled The Book Witch. And within this series, I'm going to give peppermint tea. Gives me the burps for some reason. I'm going to be giving book reviews on some of my favorite pagan books and the books I've read recently. Also in reviewing oracle cards and tarot decks, oracle decks and tarot decks that I have that I like to work with, or that I may not like to work with, and things like that. And so just had this idea pop into my mind earlier today, and I posted it on Facebook, and you know, kind of got a Kickstarter, so I said let's go with it. So for the first episode of The Book Witch, I apologize for the bouncing too. You guys are on my bed on a pile of pillows. Um, I need to find a sturdier setup for my computer, but another day. Um, for the first episode of The Book Witch, I wanted to review um, Jose Stevens and Lena Stevens' book, The Secrets of Shamanism, Tapping the Spirit Power Within You. This is a fantastic book for those who are interested in shamanism and shamanistic practices. It doesn't dive deeply into cultural shamanism, just more shamanism as a whole. They don't use they use various stories from different native tribes that they have been to and have studied under. There, in each chapter, there are lessons and there are exercises, which I find very intriguing. And also within each chapter, there's a story. Um, Either it's illustrated, they illustrated it themselves, or it's something that they experienced firsthand, and they tell the story, and that kind of leads you into the chapter, which I found very appealing. It's kind of you're drawn into um, someone else's journey work and how they journey per se, and then you're into the lesson of how can you incorporate that aspect of shamanism in your daily life, and here's an exercise on how to do it, and they break it down for you. This book covers a variety of topics. Um, it has over 330 pages, I want to say, in the little book. Um, it has 11 chapters. Each chapter, like chapter 1 is shamanism, an overview. It talks about shaman specialties, shamans and society, the making of a shaman, what shamans know, and benefits of shamanism. Um, the chapter 2 is beginning the journey, soaring into the unknown. It talks about what is the imagination and how you limit your imagination, why use your imagination, detachment and surrender, nuts and bolts of visioning, and beginning of the shamanic journey, understanding your journey and the benefits of journey. In this book, they use the term imagination, where you would see a lot of psychic development books use visualization and visualizing. In this one, you're imagining. Your imagination becomes more of a reality. Um, Chapter 3, I'm not going to read through all the subtitles, I'm just going to start going through the titles now. Chapter 3 is The Secret World, What the Shaman Knows. Um, Actually, I might, because that talks about the web of power, the human aura, seeing spirit bodies, defining your own spirit body, grounding and protection, becoming transparent, shape changing, and developing neutrality. Chapter 4 is Nature's Powers, Spirit Helpers. It talks about the power of rocks, locations of power, power of animals, power of plants, and the power of elements. Um, Chapter 5 is Shaping Time and Learning to be Present. Chapter 6, The Cycle of Life, Creating and Destroying, which is creating the balance within life. Chapter 7, Shamans and Opportunity, Goals, Problem Solving, and Success. Um, Chapter 8 is Finding Your Place in the Shaman World. Chapter 9 is Sacred Marriage, Discovering the Balance. Chapter 10 is Transformation through Ritual and Ceremony and Practices. And Chapter 11 is Playing the Shamanic Game of Life, the Big Picture. So within this book, there are a myriad of different exercises that one could use to incorporate um, shamanism in your day-to-day life. And what I love about it is, let's see if I can find actually a good one. Hold on. Locations of power. Alright, we'll go from rocks and minerals. We'll do working with rocks and minerals. And the exercise that he has for that is this exercise from rocks and minerals will acquaint you with the spirit of the rocks and minerals. Becoming acquainted with their spirit will automatically open up the channels to communication, therefore to their power. It says choose a rock or mineral. Better yet, let one choose you. The right rock for you will automatically grab your attention. Even if it's not pretty to look at, it could be any rock, even a simple small one found on the street. Let yourself be drawn to it. If you see it outside, always ask his permission to remove it from this natural setting. Okay, and then it says sit down with the rock, mineral, or the gemstone in your hand and study it carefully. Notice every detail, shape, color, temperature, and how it feels in your hands. Then close your eyes and ask these questions. Number 1. What are your specific properties? Number 2. Is there anything you want to tell me? Number 3. May I have permission to use your properties? How can you be of help to me? Wait for the answers and take them at face value. If information is confusing, ask for clarification. Ask, what does that mean? If you happen to see a rock spirit with your shamanic vision or imagination, see, he uses those two terms, shamanic vision and imagination, interchangeably within the book. Bear in mind that the spirit of the rock may look very different from its physical form. It may appear as a small or bright light of various colors. Remember to thank the spirit of the rock when you have completed the exercise, and you may repeat the exercise often and with as many rocks or minerals and gemstones as you wish. And after each one, instead of trying to kind of remember, at the end of each one he has, I don't know if you can read that, but he has like an exercise guideline. So instead of reading through all that like right before you go into it, so you have to memorize it or things like that, he kind of does the outline of what the journey or the exercise is about. Let's see. Now, when I said earlier that there were stories, let's see, which one? I want to read one. I want to read one to you. I just got to find a not too long one because I don't want to bore you. Okay. So this one comes from the same chapter, but it's on the elements instead of rocks and minerals. In this story, he has it written in a smaller print than the regular book. So the story's right here, and the regular print, like information-wise, you can tell. I find it enjoyable to find stories like this in books, whether it be personal stories or stories like how Jose and Lena describe. But let me read this one to you and explain. Well, let me just read it to you and then I'll go from there. So it starts off as Old Ted pulled his tractor into the barn and then ambled into the farmhouse door in the clear morning light. The air was already beginning to warm for a perfect spring day. Just then his neighbor Frank pulled up by the fence in his pickup truck. Perfect day for planting, he called out. Old Ted wandered over to the fence. I think I'll wait for 2 weeks before setting those crops in. I just have a feeling we haven't seen the end of winter yet. Frank looked. I picked the one with the big words that I can't pronounce. Incredulous. You must be out of your mind, Ted, he said. Why, it's always over by this time of year. Besides, all the reports are for the warming trend. We're clear of it now. You'll never get a second crop in if you wait. I'm planting, so is everyone around. What gives that crazy idea anyhow? Oh, you might say a little bird told me, Ted grinned in his mischievous way and with a twinkle in his eye. Frank shook his head. Well, it's your skin, he said, aloud as he pulled away. Crazy old coot, he thought to himself. But I wonder. That old guy always seems to know something. Maybe it's the Indian in him. No, he's just getting old and muddy. 2 weeks later, old Ted sat by his toasty wood stove and glanced at the snow drifts outside of the window of his farmhouse. Well, it wasn't exactly a little bird that told me, he reflected. Brother Breeze told me directly. Um, so these stories in here are multiple stories, and that's just one to account. There's usually a story in each chapter going on how it could be like that one was a farmer and him being connected with the elements of the wind. There was another one who was working in an office and she felt overpowered, and so she journeyed within and melded with her power animal, which was the eagle, and sought strength and freedom, and it helped her through her day, her kind of work day, and dealing with her boss. So I mean, there's a lot of interesting stories. If you guys are interested in this, I bought this when I was 16, 17. I remember I got it from Books A Million or Barnes and Noble. I think it's Books A Million. Only paid $8 for it. It's $8 retail, so it's not a very expensive book, brand new. But I know you can find this online for as cheap as a penny on Amazon. I've looked it up just in case if I wanted a copy of this whenever shredded, because it is getting kind of old and yellowed. But it is a fantastic book. If there are any particular before I go into that, I always go back to this book when I feel the need to journey. And when I say journey, that's how I meditate. Is I don't passive meditation. I'm not a big fan of lying or sitting still and trying to quiet the mind and have zen. That's not really how I meditate. I meditate and I go on a journey, and that way my mind can follow through the journey, and I won't be distracted by noises outside or by anything else, random thoughts that pop up. Usually when I'm in that active meditation, I'm so focused on the journey and meeting my guides and experiencing the other worlds that it's a very eye-opening experience. Um, so if any of you guys are interested in learning shamanism, I wouldn't say that this is a tell-all tale for shamanism. There's so much more to shamanism than one book can ever encompass. But this is a fantastic book for those who are possibly starting out or who have been along on their way and want a different perspective in the craft. I highly recommend The Secrets of Shamanism, Tapping into the Spirit Power Within You by Jose Stevens and Lena Stevens. I will post a link to the Amazon listing for the book. I'll post it down in the description below. Other than that, I plan on doing these videos, book review videos. I'm going to try to do them once a week or every couple weeks. Because I do have a lot of books that I've read that I haven't reviewed on my channel that are just kind of sitting there, so I'll plan to do one at least once a week. So let me know what you guys think. I'm really excited to start this new series. I know this one's kind of more, it's not that bad timing, more informal. I'll have a lot more, it's not really much you can say. I think the book really speaks for itself in this one. But if you guys have any comments, concerns, or questions for me, please leave them below in the comment section. And until next time, many blessings.